Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Choujin X chapters 29 and 30 part 1. I don't know when part 2 is coming out, but we're just going to do part 1 right now. When we last left our heroes, we had a little bit of Tokio and Simon continuing the training, which ended up with Simon asking Tokio if becoming a keeper was really right for him, as it felt like he was being dragged along by Azuma's goals, which, you know, is being a keeper right for Tokio? Who can say? But anyway, that got interrupted when they sensed the fight going on between Azuma and Yubiko, who we learn is a mandala body Choujin. So she's creating limbs and body parts left and right. Simon and Tokio are interrupted by Chandra, who they start to fight. Chandra susses out Tokio as most likely the beast that they're looking for. Almost certainly the beast that his organization is looking for. And then Hiroto reveals that he has the power to raise the dead by being a terrible singer, and attacks Ellie, Maiko, Shadow Owl, and Hajimaki, I think is her name, over at the residential area, the dorm, the shack they're sleeping in. Shadow Owl gets a good hit in on Hiroto, but he gets right back up and continues the fight. So let's dive right on into Chapter 29, Black Show Introduction. We have this nice color cover with our three protagonists, doing what's sort of a, maybe like a see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil thing, with like Ellie covering her ears and Tokio almost covering his mouth. We see a little bit of his mouth there, and Azuma moving to like cover his eyes, but not really. It's an interesting thing. Each of them have their sort of aesthetics around them. Ellie has what looks like flames, like her smoke. We see like the vulture wing for Tokio, the chains for Azuma. But anyway, we pick up where we left off, with Hajimaki and Maiko and Ellie and Shadow Owl all fighting the skeletons. As Hiroto watches and we get some narration, Hiroto Mori. He is sensitive to sound and he has a sub-ability. He can use vibrations to perceive the space around him. And we see his, map of the battlefield. He's at the central camp. Chandra, Tokio, and Simon are near the Great Spinal Column. And Yubiko and Azuma are fighting at the Ojima Tower ruins. But yeah, all spread out, they're each in their own little part of the island. And Hiroto thinks to himself, Miss Yubiko, oh, what rhythm you have. You must be enjoying yourself. As for Chandra, looks like you're 2 against 1. Have you found the beast? 2 veterans are present, but the rest are new keepers. In that case, my best option is to buy time. Okay, I guess for Chandra to beat the new keepers and take Tokio. But we cut to near the Great Spinal Column, as Chandra sends more smoke down to attack Simon and Tokio. And Simon is able to blast it back with his swords. And Tokio's wow at that. And Simon thinks back to what Sandek told him. Chandra Hume's smoke may be powerful, but it can be physically manipulated. If you spin the swords quickly, you might be able to contain it in the whirlwind. And Chandra just growls at him, you punk! You dare pull one of Sandek's tricks! I mean, taking other people's tricks is the entire basis of the Kagemura Choujin ability. So yeah, kind of lone sword. And he thinks, my teacher's lessons, combined with the island training, really paid off. And he throws some more energy blades at Chandra. And Chandra dodges it by turning his head into smoke. Not so fast. And then blasts some smoke over towards Simon, who jumps out of the way, and Chandra reappears right behind him. You lack experience, and grabs his face. What a handsome face to burn off. But before he can do that, Tokio jumps up ready to slug him with partial beastification. Shocking Chandra, you really are! And just, the punch connects, full hit. Sending him flying down to the ground head first. Simon and Tokio land. Simon has a much better landing than Tokio does. But Chandra quickly pulls himself out of the ground. And we see... Chandra is pissed. Like, eyes burning. His, like, top of his head on fire. You dare get my suit dirty? And Simon notes, we made Chandra angry. He's 5 times stronger when he flies off the handle. That's the sort of thing that, like, feels like it's made for power scaling. But okay. As Tokio just questions, for real? For real. But that was a good punch, Kurahara. Yeah? And then Simon just tells Tokio, go find Higashi. What? Which, I'm not sure if that's a get Tokio away from Chandra, who is directly after him, or if that's meant to be your whole motivation is to assist Azuma go do that. We'll see. Did you forget? Higashi's fighting a Choujin somewhere out there. We've got no clue who he's up against. We don't have time for a tussle with Chandra. Plus, looks like this beast he's after is you. To be blunt, he's way above any of us as a Choujin. You being here will make a bit of difference against him in battle. I can buy us some time on my own. You help Higashi and get to the teachers. So we see Simon is like planning a damn sacrifice here, I think. Like, I'm not sure Simon's expecting to survive this. But also, if there's a chance, someone needs to get to the teachers and tell them that Chandra is here. Of course, he doesn't know the teachers are currently caught up in their own battle, so it's not like that'll do even much good. But still, it's a plan. And Tokio tries to argue, then let me take on Chandra. And Simon is just stunned. You blockhead! Do you even hear yourself? But Tokio tells him, if he wants me, then all I gotta do is outrun him, right? And I know my beast legs can sprint. Azuma's safer in your hands than in mine. So, you go to him and leave this to me. Which is at least somewhat thought out. Not terribly thought out. Cause, like, I'm not sure that Tokio's gonna outrun Smoke. But okay. And Simon starts to speak. And goes for it. Alright. And then we cut to the Yubiko-Azuma fight back at the tower ruins. As Azuma's like jumping around Yubiko, trying to get a hit in. Neither of them are really getting good damage in. And Yubiko just banters, you know what? I don't even care if you're the beast. Yeah! Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Because I saw this next line at the bottom of the page. Which made me wonder, like, my initial assumption, this is Azuma's thoughts. She can copy and extend her limbs. Like Johnny Longneck. But even more. Oh, I thought the he there was referring to Azuma. It's referring to Johnny from the first chapter. Actually, he couldn't even hold a match to her. Which... that's an interesting, I'm curious what that might mean about, like, the world building of Choujin. It's a really minor thing, but that's just, like, not the expression. The expression has always been you couldn't even hold a candle. So that's an interesting little bit there. Probably not important, but something to consider. And then, as he's, like, trying to hold off against her, she spawns arms not from her body, but from the ground itself that captures Azuma. What? From the ground? Shoot. Before he even finished the word, she breaks his back. Right then and there. Or breaks a good number of his bones. That's one... I'm not sure that's his knee... his right leg... like, he's got where the knee goes, and then, like, another break. He's just fucked up. He's just fucked up there. And screams, Gah! And hits the ground. Gah! And Yubiko taunts, raise, raise, raise. Come on, we can't stop at just one round. I know you can do it. And he thinks to himself, my cloak, cover me, and murmurs, raise. It's fight or be killed. And he gets back up and he jumps to like a higher tower to look down at Yubiko. I can't tell what school she trained in, but I know she's using martial arts. She's studied and knows what she's doing. I need to give this my all too in order to win. And so Azuma jumps off the tower towards Yubiko, and then gets behind her, and then dashes back up at her. Yubiko taunts back, "Think you're a little speedster?" And he does appear right behind her, and grabs her real arm, and then positions himself to get her into a chokehold. And does that. It's a good bit of martial arts there, which we have seen Azuma be at least semi-proficient in the past. And, given the fact that Azuma recognizes Yubiko as a martial artist, it's a nice little bit of like, parallelism there, putting the two of them together. It's an interesting choice. I also just love this shot of, like, as Azuma's got her pinned down, like, the leg lock thing, she's, like, surrounded by her excess limbs. And Azuma taunts in his head, "How do you like that? About to, like, taunt like a got ya." And she breaks out of it and kicks him in the face. Forcing him to let go. "You're not getting away. You might be able to heal, but if your brain doesn't get oxygen..." Oh, I see. Even with the kick, he hasn't let go of her head with his legs. She's still caught. "You're not getting away. You might be able to heal, but if your brain isn't getting oxygen, you won't be able to hold out." And we see she starts to lose her breath, and with her last breath, says, "Sprout heads." And like 5 more Yubiko heads emerge from behind Azuma, solving that breath issue. And they all start, like, biting at Azuma, tearing into him. Did I say she was like Johnny? No. She's even more. And we see it's much more than 5 heads here, as he's just literally being ripped apart by her armies of mouths. Like, we can see his, like, muscles in his abdomen, as his flesh is ripped asunder, because, Ishida goes hard. Goes hard with these visuals sometimes. She's even more of a monster. And Yubiko laughs as we leave this fight to go check in on Central Camp versus Hiroto, Mori, and the Skelegang, which is a great name. The kind of name I would use for an army of skeletons. But we see Maiko, like, stepping on one of the skeleton's heads and landing back on the ground, headed straight for Hiroto. She tries to give him a punch, and Hiroto just sings and knocks Maiko all the way back. She kind of lands on her feet. But he taunts her. "That was just a basic chord, silly Willy." Next up, some Mori classic. "Chicky Chicky Bomb Bomb," with a little star in the middle. He's just a fun guy. He's a fun little character. And he makes a couple mouth noises. Cheeky, cheeky. And then I think, like, the next part is, like, explosions, the bomb bomb. A jazz session. The delicate sounds of the clacking of teeth to have a blasting good time. Alright, so, point is, she's on defense. Trying to dodge these sort of like sonar attacks. And then she lands right back into, like, the grip of a bunch of skeletons. This is getting nowhere. And Hachimaki turns back to see that. And Maiko calls out, "Ellie!" Once again, another sort of separation move. This is Hachimaki who tells her, "Go find Kurahara and the others. They're just keeping us occupied. Mori has another target." And Ellie comments, "You got it!" And she flies off. Shadow Owl tosses her his, like, emo cloak. "Put this on. It's a robe of darkness." And Ellie's just, "Sure?" Okay. So, it's another, like, it's the same move that Tokio and, oh, wait, I just realized she's headed straight for Chandra. Which is definitely going to be an important move for Ellie, given that, that is her power. But Ellie just thinks, what the heck is up with these guys? I hope Tokio and the gang are safe. And we cut to Tokio running. His legs like, you can see the talons in his feet. But like he's running so fast, his human body can't really handle it. We see like the skin around his mouth flapping. As he thinks to himself, I've just transformed my legs. Efficiency. I need to run for as long as I can. So, Kagemura will get to Azuma. Then they'll bring the instructors here. And then, save me please. But Chandra continues to follow him. This guy though. How can he keep track of me even in the woods? I'm hightailing it pretty fast over here. But he hides behind a tree for like a split second. Fine then. Time for some evasive measures. And he like dashes behind a bush as Chandra like flies by. Now how do you like that? And Chandra turns towards him and gets that Choujin sense. Headed straight towards Tokio. There you are, beast. What the? How did your hair fit? He's like back on the run. How did your hair figure it out? Has he got really good ears? Is that his power? Is that why he's got so much hair? Which, sure. Yeah, that's the thing to think when you're getting chased for your life. But he realizes abilities. When a Choujin uses he thinks back to the fight with Nari. When a Choujin uses their powers, they release a distinct signal, you see. One that other nearby Choujin can pick up. And he thinks, she gave me a super good tip. Thanks, Miss Nari. Wonder what you're up to these days. Is she still in the basement? Is she still locked up at Yamato Mori, being tortured by Sato? But he puts the pieces together, so using my abilities gives away my location. So I've just gotta stop using them? He comes to that conclusion as he's just jumped off a cliff. Then, why did I even transform? And he tumbles, still with his beast legs, but my normal legs are so slow. But then he realizes he can spot me as a Choujin, but not as a human. If this works, I'll be able to buy some time, I think. Guess I just gotta give it a try. I'm scared, though. Beastification release. And he's back to normal. Hopefully this will, allow him to hide from Chandra. Of course, if Chandra catches him anyway, he's kind of fucked. But maybe this will help him. And he says, I promise Kagemura I'd do this. Give it all you've got, dummy. Okay, here it goes. Normal me, engage. And we cut back to Simon, who is headed towards the Azuma Yubiko fight. Kurahara. Even if he's just fleeing, I don't know how long he can last against Chandra. If you engage in battle, you're a goner, Kurahara. I need to focus too. I have to prep for a fight. After the injury Higashi gave me, I still don't know if I can even manage one raise. The fact that I'm going to save him now is so ironic. So yeah, also, it's a nice reminder that, time has not really passed since the fight with Azuma. Which, we sort of saw, at the start of this arc, as Simon still holds a grudge against him. But it's also, in a really neat way, coming back to bite Simon. He was beat up real bad. Does he still have any raises left? And the same could kind of be said for Tokio, who used so many raises he unlocked that, new form. But then someone throws knives down in front of Simon, shocking him. What? And as a reminder, in the last chapter, Hiroto mentioned there being 3 other people on the island. We still don't know who that third is. But now, we see someone that I don't think is Simon. Someone with painted nails. I don't think Simon has painted nails, but also, it's Sui Ishida. Everyone might have painted nails in this series. But I think this might be another Kurahara. Not Kurahara, another Kagemura. Because they have that lone sword tattoo. And also, stitched together arms. That's a whole, Frankenstein's monster thing in the wrist there. Hagina. Phony pilfer. Lone sword. Madarome. True turbidity. And we see the ground around Simon, royals. Shocking Simon, the ground under my feet is turning to quagmire. The sword created by Monk Rimbo. But he's dead. The only person capable of using that power is... And it's the Pharmacist, who is the other person on the island. Why, hello there. The Nue Chimera. Which I guess is what the Pharmacist's Choujin power is. I mean, it's the same basic concept, it seems, as the Kagemora's whole deal, though the stitching is very much not the Kagemora's whole deal. But okay. So, this chapter just sort of feels like it's continuing on with, just sort of continuing each fight, but not really making any definitive progress in them for the most part. Like, we get a little bit of the fight with Chandra that leads to, a change in that situation. Not a really big one. With just Simon leaving and it just being Tokio, just sort of trying to run away. And I do like the bit we get when it's just Tokio, as he tries to reason out how best to avoid Chandra, with the sort of counterintuitive method of weakening himself to hide. It's a nice little bit of strategy dealing with what we already know about how the show's powers work. It's a really good bit all around there. But then, we have the fight with Hiroto, where the only real thing that happens is Ellie leaves. The fight with Yubiko, where, due to the way that Raise works, I mean, Azuma realizes how fucked he is. That's sort of the only thing that happens there. The only, there's some really cool imagery all through that fight. But the only, definitive progress that happens is Azuma realizing how fucked he is. And then, of course, we have Simon and the Pharmacist. So, thankfully, 30 Part 1 is already here, so let's just, dive right on in. And our cover here for Chaosy Part 1, which, weird title, but okay, is a bit of an image of Simon, with both his cards, the Pierce Viscera that Simon's go to, and the Madoromi that the Pharmacist is using. As a sort of, normal Choujin narration plays, Choujin have various obsessions with their abilities, such as love, pride, anger, hatred, grief, and pleasure. A Choujin who steals powers from another Choujin takes on the fixation they are based on, thus creating a new obsession. And we cut to the fight with the Pharmacist, as Simon and the Pharmacist each use their lone sword abilities, Pierce Viscera and Madoromi, event duplicate, and they seem evenly matched, though I doubt they're going to stay that way. And yeah, it does seem like the Madoromi swords are victorious there. Madoromi, a lone sword that turns anything it touches to mire. Pierce Viscera won't work like this. Yeah, and we get, with a better look, we see that Simon's swords are literally turning into muck. And Simon just starts to panic. How could I be outclassed in a sword fight? And he looks over at the Pharmacist. He stole it. And just the rage of, because, looking back at Simon's backstory, it's not quite confirmed that it was the Pharmacist that was responsible, given the sheer number of heads that being had. But it was the Pharmacist's mask. So it's a reasonable assumption that the Kagemora massacre was committed by the Pharmacist. Which, much like Ellie going to join Tokio in his fight with Chandra, is another bit of a deeply personal rivalry brewing here. But Simon sort of realizes he's outdoing me, even with a stolen power. Thief. And he uses his lone sword to somehow create a little halo helicopter ring. And the Pharmacist looks at it with a little, lone sword. Rainbow. And he cleaves the Pharmacist in half. Which I don't think is going to do much. And, I mean, we've already seen the man, stitched together. Excuse me. I don't think this is really going to affect him. Because, yeah, he keeps on talking. Hagina. Dry dawn. And he summons an army of bugs. Which I guess is another Choujin power he's stolen. Butterflies. No moths? And the Pharmacist appears behind him. a raise or another evasive ability? Because, yeah, I had forgotten about raise for a split second when I saw him get cut in two. I was too focused on, like, the Frankenstein stitching in his arms. But also, that might be an ability, it might be raise. Who's to say? But Simon gets another hit in and chops off the top half of his head. And out of it appear more moths. Again? What's going on here? And then we get some super trippy imagery. With, like, one of Simon's arms stretching down below the page. Another one, the hand, is this, like... It's given me, like, Hollow vibes in Made in the Abyss. Like, in the end of Season 2 when Vuko becomes a little flesh pile. It's given me that vibe, except with a hand instead of her face. But also, an entire background covered in no masks. In copies of the Pharmacist mask. Some sort of fucked up distortion ability. And I love the, like, inverted what that Simon asks in his confusion. Something is wrong with my senses. Moth scales? Are those... And he falls over, just muttering. We see, like, the vein popping sort of, like, swirl in his eyes. No. And the Pharmacist has put himself back together again. Or maybe, given his next line, he was never actually attacked at all. This is my first time trying hallucinatory poison. Which does beg the question, when was Simon poisoned? Was that as soon as he did that little flashy bit? Or was that, like, only once things got real trippy? I don't really know if he ever attacked, the Pharmacist at all. And the Pharmacist comes up to him. So you were in possession of Monk Rainbow's main sword. Oh, so Pierce Viscera is also from Monk Rainbow. Okay. But it seemed like the other one was, like, the stronger sword. I feel like that would be the main one? I don't know. Not important. Then I will now have the pair of them. But he stops himself. But no, that would be giving in to my greed as a collector again. I don't have the time for that now. Eventually, I will have plenty of time for you. Well, because, yeah, his main point right now is to go after Tokio. But, yeah, Simon just got fucking crushed there. But Simon calls after him, stop. Not yet. Damn it. And then we leave him there in complete defeat. And speaking of an overabundance of body parts, or fucked up body parts, we have Yubiko. And her army of heads sprouting out of the back of her neck. No. They're just, like, saying random things. Huh? Wow. What an uggo. Neat. Look at all the variety. Alrighty, let's kill him. And Yubiko's, like, sort of stretching her main neck after having broken free of Azuma's attack. We see, like, the blood still pouring from Azuma's abdomen. She's so strong. My unprotected body isn't going to cut it. My abdomen, she tore it open. Heal. Hurry. Offense isn't as important as... And Yubiko calls up to her bickering heads. Hey, quit fighting up there, me. Which, like... Alright, Yubiko. Sure. Offense isn't as important as defense. And we see, like, his eyes becoming bloodshot. Defense. And this image of, like, a suit of armor. Create a defense. Visualize it. And Yubiko looks down at him. Armor! And with the same material he creates his chains out of, we see his cloth gear has become metal. Has become armor. Mostly covering his body. We see he comments, okay, I wanted to cover my whole body, but pretty sure this is better than nothing. But still, so it's not completely covering him, and we can see, like, you know, open spots around his, like, his right upper arm is showing, but still, his abdomen at least is protected. And Yubiko taunts, oh, that looks so heavy duty. And all of the heads are, like, ready to continue the fight. Let's see how it holds up. And all of the heads start, like, you know, gunning for Azuma. And he defends himself, and with that armor, is able to cut off a good number of those heads. And, like, with like, the chains also... Like, the chains are the weapons. But now that he's not, getting torn apart, he can tear off Yubiko's heads. And also, he spawned a blade, actually, is what actually did it, from his wrist. I can fight like this. And Yubiko comments to him, nice. Good going, kiddo. And then she sort of starts to monologue. Now, this is just my little theory. But men who become more powerful take a completely different route from the outset. And the real ones, they're nurtured in battle. The ones who think they can catch up with the top, getting off on constant training, are just wankers. And Azuma echoes my thought. Wankers? Like, is Yubiko British now? Is that what we're dealing with? But I want to take a moment to think about that point. The ones who think they can catch up with the top, getting off on constant training. Which, to me, I mean, for one thing, Azuma was also training. Like I'm trying to tie that into the sort of very circular rivalry with Tokio and Azuma, where they both sort of view each other as so great that it leads to especially in Azuma's case, resentment when the other one doesn't realize that greatness. I don't know. Like could you view Tokio as one who with the constant training, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure it can be argued that Tokio trains more than Azuma does, as they were both training before this whole fight started. But Yubiko just grins. But you, kid, you'll get real strong. If you survive, that is. And we see some honestly, the creepiest imagery we've had yet, as just like fingers. There's something about the tininess of them and the detail. And the fact that she's got four of those fingers, some of them are spawning from her temple, her cheeks, her mouth, or like from below her mouth, her neck. 4 of them are spawning from her left eye, which is just fucked up. If you survive, that is. Chaosy, which is our title, and her like special form. As Tokio reacts, what? And she gets a new form, which seems to be a body covered in fingers? I think. It's a little less chaosy than her, like, it's a little less chaos-esque than her mandala form. But she's got these, like the way her legs are designed, like, they're sort of, like, springy. It's got that little, like, spiral, above the knee that feels like it's meant to, like, represent springs. And then they sort of taper off to, like, be real little below the knee. And these giant, like, hulking hands, a bit mixed with, like, fast and strong in her chaos form. Alrighty, let's get started. Nirvana Mandala Chaos, Yubiko. And Azuma pauses and looks at her. What is that? And she dashes at him, or dashes around him, jumping like a kind of, or sort of like springing. It's giving me a sort of Bellamy vibe in Jaya. Chaos, the Choujin's berserker state. Their abilities overtake them. They hyperfixate and lose their sense of self, potentially permanently. Choujin are a conduit to God, as one religious organization claims. The abyss that is chaos is the road to enlightenment, to the divine, which fits the nirvana in her title. But in actuality, it is an uncontrollable anomaly. Some Choujin even lose all sense of self forever. And as this is going on, we see Yubiko gets a good strong kick on Azuma, sends him flying, all that defense doing nothing. However, there are those who treat the chaos state as simply another power. The ones like Yubiko, who willfully keep peering into those depths, are chaos Choujin. They grow too fond of the abyss and lose too much of their humanity, or even shed it fully. Perhaps because they've lost their humanity, some have even claimed to be gods. And we get another shot of Azuma just getting, like, barreled into by Yubiko. Who, I don't know, Yubiko doesn't seem to have lost her humanity. It almost feels like by embracing the chaos, she's like found stability. And the way that like the last time you really saw a chaos form, which I don't think Azuma was ever considered a chaos form, or even like the creepy little thing that Tokio did at the end of that arc. But like Shiozaki did not have a sense of self. It was only brought back to him by the power of baseball metaphors. Whereas Yubiko is keeping it. Almost like by embracing that chaos, maybe because her non-chaos state is still sort of chaosy, it's not that different when she changes, or something, I don't know. But either way, Azuma hits the ground and Tokio lands. Azuma just mutters, Oh, and Azuma enters his own chaos state. As like, I can't even describe it. He's for one thing, he spawned a full sword, bound to his wrist by chains, and from his sort of like helmet thing, he's spawned something. I'm not sure what that's meant to be. As he just mutters, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you! And Yubiko just watches. Regardless, chaos is a Choujin's berserker state. And we leave off on Chandra flying through the air, still looking for Tokio, who we can't find anymore. It doesn't feel much like a cliffhanger, but this is also just like part of a chapter. So anyway, I covered 29 to the point that to the extent that I wanted to already, so I'm going to focus this last part of the video just on 30 part 1. And 30 part 1 is very, very easily divided. We have the sort of first appearance of the Pharmacist's abilities, as Simon is completely and utterly outmatched. You know, even more than with Chandra, there was just no hope of a victory here. He is completely and utterly destroyed. Which, you know, in comparison, makes Azuma's, you know, gripping, death-defying, you know, utterly gory duel to the death with Yubiko seem positively easy mode. He at least gets to struggle. He gets some new sort of variations on his abilities with turning his metal into defense as opposed to offense. And then we get to see 2 chaos states. Yubiko is pretty much completely in control of hers, with some absolute nightmare fuel imagery with that finger in the eye shit. And then the whole whatever the fuck she's meant to be. It's honestly, for some reason, my point of image with Yubiko's hand in her chaos state is the hot dog fingers from Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is not not like the image that I really thought I would have in my head looking at that, but it's what's there. Then we see Azuma's chaos state as he's sort of encompassed in metal. Which might be sort of like, because earlier in the training, there was sort of like what is the nature of his Choujin form? You know, what is his type? And it might be metal, like cloth or armor. Like the cloth is an early type of armor, and as he gets better, he has a sort of defensive metal, and his chaos state brings that metal to its most chaotic. I don't know. We get a little bit of Chandra. I don't think we're going to come back to the Yubiko fight next chapter. I feel like that's going to be, because, you know, next chapter is part of this chapter, it's going to be, Chandra and Tokio, and then Ellie finding Chandra, and then maybe we'll check it on Hiroto. But yeah, this is just like, you know, my continued, I suppose if I had any concern at all, it's the fact that, like, by having its villains be so sort of like, or I don't know, I don't think the right choice is to be like, oh, because these guys are so evil, Ishida is dropping any of the problems inherent to Yamato Mori, because I still think we're gonna get those, but we're not really focusing on that right now. And And, you know, that's sort of, like, what I'm really... I really love that theme. Like, Sinker... To be fair, we're only 30 chapters in, but, like, Sinker is easily my favorite part of the story so far, because it deals with that sort of, you know, at what point is crime... What justifications make crime just... What explanations can make committing, you know, a life of crime justified? Was it right to just leave Shiozaki on his own? That sort of thing. And this is not an arc that really deals with that. Right now, the themes of this arc are, you know, watching our heroes get absolutely crushed. And it sure delivers with pure spectacle, because, you know, Ishida, especially in Choujin, has never been one to shy away from the spectacle. With, like, the trippy nightmare fuel imagery in the Pharmacist fight, and the nightmare fuel imagery going on with Yubiko. Choujin has style for days. That's the point. There's such great imagery in both these chapters. It's just, you know, Choujin is fucking good. And I can't wait to see where exactly Ishida's going next. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!